Hello class, I'm going to be talking about Marina Abramović. She is a Serbian performance artist, writer, and filmmaker. Her work consists of body art, endurance art, and feminist art. Abramović refers to herself as the grandmother of performance art. She created a new concept in which the observers participate, and she focused on confronting pain, blood, and physical limits of the body. Her first performance was Rhythm 10 in 1973 at just 27 years old. In this performance, Abramović explored elements of ritual and gesture. She used 20 knives and 2 tape recorders. She played what is called the Russian game, and that includes rhythmic jabs that are aimed between her fingers, which were spread out. Each time that she would cut herself, she would pick up a new knife from the collection of 20 and record again. After she would cut herself 20 times, she replayed the tape, listening to the sound, and tried to repeat the same movements, attempting to replicate the mistakes. She set out to explore the physical and mental limitations of the body. She said that once you enter into the performance state, you can push your body to do things that you could never normally do. Rhythm Zero is a performance by Marina Abramović to test the limits of the relationship between performer and audience. In this performance, she assigned a passive role to herself, with the public being the ones that would act on her. She placed 72 items on a table that the audience was allowed to use on her. Those objects consisted of a rose, a feather, honey, scissors, a scalpel, a whip, olive oil, a gun, and a single bullet. For 6 hours, she allowed the audience members to manipulate her body. She wanted to test how vulnerable and aggressive the human subject could be when there were no consequences. At first, the audience was very passive and cautious, but as time passed, people were more aggressive. In those 6 hours, she felt very violated because the audience had cut up her clothes, stuck thorns on her skin. She said one person aimed the gun at her head and another one took it away. In this performance art, she also represents the objectification of the female body. She said that if you left it up to the audience, they could kill you. After the 6 hours, she stood up and started walking towards the audience, and everyone ran away. Another fascinating artwork by Marina Abramović is The Artist is Present. It is one of her most recent artworks. In 2010, the Museum of Modern Art held a performance recreation of Abramović's work. In this 736-hour and 30-minute performance, the artist was silent and sat immobile while an audience was invited to take turns sitting opposite of her. She sat across 1,545 sitters. Hundreds of visitors were lining up outside the museum overnight to secure a spot the next morning. The sitters could not speak or touch during their sitting. The sittings varied from 5 minutes up to 3 hours. In a journal article by Rebecca Taylor, she describes her sitting with Marina Abramović. She thought that she would last only 10 minutes, becoming uncomfortable or bored. But for the first few minutes, she thought of how extraordinary Abramović was, and then just became comfortable in the silence and left after an amazing half hour. Another performance by Abramović was Rhythm 5 in 1974. In this performance, unlike some of the others previously described, she was very angry and unsatisfied because she said that even though there is a physical limit, when you lose consciousness, you can't be present and you cannot perform. And that is exactly what happened in this performance. She wanted to stimulate the energy of extreme bodily pain. She used a large petroleum-infused star, which she lit at the start of her performance. She cut her hair, her nails, and toenails, throwing them into the fire. She later jumped into the center of the large star, and that is when she had lost consciousness due to the lack of oxygen. No one noticed until the flames got very close to her and she remained still. Abramović was born in Yugoslavia in 1946. Her parents were deeply religious and had military-style control over her. All her performances were done before 10 p.m. All the cutting, the burning, the whipping, and almost losing her life were done before 10 p.m. She was not allowed past that hour until she was 29 years old. She is an art professor in Paris, Hamburg, and Germany. Her performance art was always about testing her physical and mental limits, and that is exactly what she did in all of her pieces. Even though she lost consciousness in some, and even having a gun pointed at her, she is a great performer because she was always involved in letting the audience be a part of it.